Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the Volume by Volume podcast. I'm Dai.
And I'm Daughter.
And today we will be sharing our thoughts on Assassination Classroom volumes 11 and 12 by Yusei Matsui. This one is published by Viz, rated older teen. We are currently reading this as part of a read-along we're doing with the Monochrome Manga Club. The Monochrome Manga Club is an in-real-life manga club that we host at our local Barnes & Noble, where we read 2 first-in-a-series selections. We're currently doing 2 series reads, this series being one of those series reads. Before we go any further, we do want to let you know that there will be spoilers in our chat here, so if you haven't read these volumes, we suggest that you read them before you listen to our thoughts. So we are a little bit late with our podcast this month, and it's pretty much because we don't really have many thoughts on these 2 volumes, and we've had a little bit of trouble just getting together time to record. But in thinking about these 2 volumes, I mean, we did start a new kind of arc. We're kind of focusing on the Grim Reaper arc. I don't know that that's the official name for this arc, but we are dealing with the Grim Reaper assassin and him moving forward with his plot of taking out other, I would say, high-skilled assassins. Because in previous volumes we did see him take out the mentor of Irina. And so there was a little bit of a revelation with that in these volumes. But pretty much the volumes weren't like the other ones, I feel. Like, we mostly focused on this Grim Reaper character, who he was, the revelation about Irina's mentor's encounter with him and the aftermath of that, and then Irina getting pulled in to the next phase of this Grim Reaper assassin's plans.
Now, I'm not sure, but I feel like this is supposed to be the mangaka's way of validating Irina's existence within the cast.
But she's also having a little bit of turmoil with what's going on. Like, we see her kind of make a hard left decision that, you know, her being with these kids have kind of quote unquote softened her. And so she's like, no, I'm done. You know, I'm going back to my hard, like, personality and what I used to be before. And that being with these kids has been detrimental to my profession, that kind of whole mentality.
Yes and no. I feel like that wasn't really her intentionally. But
you think she was just being...
I think part of it was because...
irritable because Karasuma wasn't noticing her feelings?
Yes. I think part of it is that stress.
Which, as you know, and I've talked about this before, I personally would prefer not to have that storyline in this story. But I think because of what's going on, we're starting to see more of that line come out in the storytelling here.
To humanize her, I guess.
You don't feel like she's been human this whole time? I mean...
Oh, no, yeah, but she herself doesn't believe that. She still thinks that she's an assassin, and
well, she is, but that doesn't... her starting to have feelings about people, or for people, doesn't negate her profession. I mean, she's been out of kind of the quote-unquote game for a little while because she hasn't had missions, but technically, she is in a pretty large mission with this whole thing about, you know, teaching these kids how to help take out Koto Sensei. I mean, she has also proven her abilities in other encounters that they've had with, like, the terrorist group on that island and other things that we've seen her do. I think for the most part, this reaction is a kind of like a gut reaction to her being irritated that Karasuma's not noticing her.
No, half and half. Yeah. I get that Karasuma reaction, but she was also feeling like she was living a fantasy, teaching the kids.
Well, I mean, she kind of is. I mean, it is a slight break from her normal missions.
But I think that was her desire to have a quote-unquote normal life. And I think
That she didn't know that she wanted?
Yeah, that she wanted some normalcy because of her profession. She probably didn't have such luxuries to have like a quote-unquote chaotic, normal life.
Well, the life of an assassin isn't a normal life in any case.
Yeah, in any case. But I wonder if it's just she was okay with it because she didn't have any contact with it. And then just being around all of these kids made her think, oh, so this is what her normal life is. And she kind of was like, oh, I like it. But then she's like, no.
Well, throughout the series to this point, also, you kind of see her getting better with her social skills around the kids. Like, kids aren't something that she would have to interact with during her missions.
For her skill
And so she was, not the best reactor to social situations and talking to the kids early on when she met them. But you can see how much she's kind of changed up until this point with that. She's much better at speaking with them and interacting with them and teaching them. Whereas in the beginning, she really didn't know how to react to them, how to socialize with them, and things like that.
She was like the begrudged babysitter.
True. But I think now
She's starting to care about them.
yeah, she definitely cares about them, and I really, at the end of volume 12, you see her starting to question whether or not the decision that she had made earlier in the volume, I think it was earlier in the volume, was actually what she wanted.
And I think that is coming now because she doesn't have just the Grim Reaper's influence on her. I think the Grim Reaper had an active persuasion, and that might have swayed her. But, with Karasuma entering and all of the students of 3E coming in, their clashing influence might have been telling her, this is what you actually want. So it's kind of like a tug of war inside Irina's soul. Like, what does she want? Does she really want to have this professional assassin lifestyle? Or does she want to continue having what she has with these kids?
Do you think that she's ever had to, question that before about herself, though? I mean, she's kind of always been someone who's like, okay, mission after mission after mission. And I don't think she's ever questioned whether she wants that or not. Like, she knows she's good at it, so she continues to do it. But do you think she's ever questioned whether or not that's the life that she actually wants? Or if it's just something she does because she's good at it and it's something that she knows?
I just think that she might have treated her profession as like a robot does. Like, mission orders received, I will execute, move on. That kind of way.
So she never really thought about anything besides doing what she's told, whether she wants that kind of lifestyle or not. It's just something that she does.
Yeah, I don't think she really had any strong attachments or desires to warrant such a thought process. She viewed her targets as targets. I must exterminate you. You are exterminated. Move on.
Right.
But also, I think it's because her target set was so much older than her. So she didn't have to worry about such things. But now that she's dealing with kids that are younger than her, I wonder if that's helping her reevaluate some things about herself.
True. Plus, her mentor was also very much older than her as well, so it kind of leads me to think that, all of the people she dealt with in her profession during her professional life has been older, and therefore that's another reason why she just has no ability, or I should say had, because she does have it now, ability to speak with kids or teens, people that she would be a mentor to, as opposed to her being the mentee. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much all that these 2 volumes really covered. We got started into a new arc, and so in the next 2 volumes, we're going to continue with that storyline. But these 2 volumes definitely weren't the same in feel, I think, as previous volumes. We weren't focusing on the kids and their growth. We're focusing now on Irina and what's going on with her thoughts on what's happening with her life right now, her thoughts on what she wants, possibly going forward, with or without Class 3E and Karasuma, and all the things that she's gained during her time with the class. And so this is kind of like the focus on her as a member of this group that we've been following from pretty much the beginning of this series. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of all the thoughts I have anyway, as far as these 2 volumes go. I did enjoy them. It's just, it felt different because we weren't really focusing on the kids anymore, and we were focusing on one of the adult characters in this cast, which, in itself is different because it's not one of the kind of people we have been rooting for since the beginning of the series. It's one of the people that has been brought in as a mentor for these kids and their struggles with what's going on. So a little bit different. Still enjoyable, though. I'm still really enjoying reading the story. And so, yeah, I'm interested in seeing how this Grim Reaper arc will continue or conclude. I don't know how many volumes this arc will take, but usually with the arcs that we have been seeing in the series, it's been pretty short, a couple volumes, and so this one's definitely going to be a little bit longer, I think, than the previous arcs that we've seen. But yeah,
I am kind of interested in how the Asano conflict will continue to progress, because it's starting to feel like this is also getting one of those fork in the road situations, just because Asano, the son, is receiving so much backlash from Principal Asano. It's like, what will he do? Because we had a pretty vicious scene in these chapters too, where Principal beat up all of his friends.
Well, the things that go on with the Asanos, while interesting, I feel like that's kind of a side story to all the things that are going on with 3E and the more focal point of the story, which is to, work to take out Koro Sensei.
It definitely is a side story type of situation, but I also think it's going to help with the impact that 3E has against the school that has wronged them so much.
Which in turn is going to be like a show of kind of strength for them being mentored by Koro Sensei and then rebelling against the main campus.
Yeah, because that little conflict was kind of like what spurred in that first arc of the manga. Main campus was putting down Class 3E because they're all bad. They were removed from the main campus for some reason. And then Koro Sensei just turns all of their lives around,
And makes them better people.
and the main campus is definitely starting to see what type of influence Koro Sensei has brought onto the kids, physically and mentally, because they're all showing their intelligence in one way or another.
I mean, we do see that storyline with the main campus weave in and out of this story, but again, it's kind of not the main focus. I think there's definitely a road towards, I guess you could say it, redemption, or revenge against the main campus, and possibly their reintegration with the main campus after they prove themselves with Koro Sensei. Not that I don't think that they've proved themselves up to this point, but the main campus isn't acknowledging everything that they've done up until this point. And I think that's probably something we'll also continue to follow throughout our reading of this series towards the end. And it should be a nice addition to whatever occurs at the end of this series on how these kids are just growing. It should be like the pinnacle of their growth, I think. That'll kind of be like the cherry on top moment when the main campus recognizes their strengths and their accomplishments. And so I'm hoping to see that in some way, shape, or form towards the end of this story. But for now, it's kind of still like a sub storyline. It's not really kind of the main focus, because for me, the main focus is taking out Koro Sensei. That's kind of always been the plan, or the thing that has been set upon this class to do. And so I feel like that's kind of the main thing, but there are all of these other things that these kids are gaining as we go through the story, whether it be self-confidence, learning how to learn, or learning how they best learn things, how best to approach a learning experience, just learning about themselves, learning how to be compassionate towards others. They're just learning a whole lot of stuff from Koro Sensei. And I just feel like, even though the whole thing with the main campus kind of weaves in and out with the story, that at the very end there will be some kind of cherry on top for them in regards to recognition from the main campus. So I'm not kind of seeing that as like the main feature right now, but I guess it's good to kind of check in with how that's going with all of these little things, whether it be, sports tournaments or the testing that they're doing. Just little things like that kind of is nice to see, because you're also seeing their growth with that. I mean, test scores are getting better. They're still learning as educationally on top of all of the skills that they're learning to become assassins, and proving themselves in these meetups with the main campus. So I sometimes will forget about storylines like that, because for me the whole main thing is whatever class 3E is focused on at the time. And for me, with these two volumes, the focus was the Grim Reaper arc. But she's right, there definitely was another weave in of that storyline with the main campus. And so yes, I definitely want to continue to see how that plays out towards the end of the series. So I think that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say too.
Okay, so it took a little longer again than we thought we were going to, but being as this is coming a little bit later in the month, we're hoping to have the next episode out for you sooner rather than later. And so, yeah, I think that's all we've got for today. Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of these 2 volumes. We are over halfway
Just about, yeah.
done with this series, so yeah, looking forward to the next 2 volumes and seeing what happens with this Grim Reaper arc. Let us know down in the comments below if you're reading along what you thought of these 2 volumes. And like I've said before, if you'd like to connect with us regarding any of the Monochrome Manga Club selections we're reading, not only these volumes, but our volumes of Delicious and Dungeon and our first in a series selections every month, you can definitely do that by either commenting on this video for the Assassination Classroom volumes or joining our Discord, which is linked down in the description box below. So I think that's all we've got for you today. And until next time, we hope that you will continue to read Assassination Classroom with us, volume by volume. Bye!